another edition of Raw Intuition Inside Scoop. Today we've got another amazing guest for you. We've got Eli Martyr on the stage, and we're going to be talking about Eli's diet, his lifestyle, and how switching. So I'll kind of preface this with saying he's eating a fruit-based diet, and it has changed his life. And we're going to talk to him about that and just kind of hear what that journey has looked like, and some of the different aspects that he's noticed changing with different areas of his life. And yeah, we're excited to hear his inspiring story, because there's no shortage of benefits that I have personally experienced from this lifestyle. And I know Eli is very similar, and I've enjoyed watching his videos. He's very very educational with his videos and very inspiring. And so he's a perfect person to bring on the channel and share with you his wisdom. So Eli, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing your experience.
Oh, come on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, your channel similarly has inspired not only myself, but thousands and thousands of other people. So first of all, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the information that you put up. And I'm really honored to be on your channel today. It's any opportunity to get the good word out, I find it's just invaluable. And yeah, every time it always makes me happy. And so yeah, and obviously it's doing wonders for your life too. So this is great. So thank you for the opportunity.
For sure, man. Yeah. And thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess we can just start off with, just kind of what your lifestyle and diet was like growing up, and did you deal with any health issues or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. So I had a very normal, just conventional, normal, everything goes, everything but the kitchen sink, processed to high hell, corporate, chemical, whatever, dead, rotting, whatever, and just shovel it in, like whatever. Yeah, that was my diet. And so luckily I was very active, though. I was always pretty active, even as a kid. And so I was I did get affected by the diet, the inevitable consequences. So getting sick every once in a while, just always having a runny nose. I had allergies. I had asthma. I did go the I don't know, I don't want to get you censored, but I did have certain invasive bodily chemicals forcefully rammed into my bloodstream.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I do. I had the same thing.
Yeah. It was, for our generation, it would have been hard to escape this, because your parents know better, and we don't know anything. So I had the initial dose of those, and that definitely didn't help. However, that was when I was a kid. I've never had any since. So yes. So I had chronic mucus, sinusitis, inflammation, allergies. I had seasonal allergies too. Super annoying to deal with. So, the ragweed season comes along, and then you're just all sniffly and whatnot. It's awful.
Yeah.
And yeah. So and skin issues. I definitely had my battle with skin issues as well. Not horrible skin issues, but just the type that's just on the verge. It's like it's there, it's always there. It's annoying, and you don't know what's happening, but it's just like, how do I deal with this? Right? What is this?
Yep.
So I had normalized that as inherent to life for a long time, because I just didn't know any better. And then later on, I made my changes and started seeing all these improvements. But yeah, before I really started cluing in to this better way of eating. And when I say better way of eating, I don't necessarily mean what I'm doing now, like a more fruit-based lifestyle. Yeah. I'm talking about just, like the vegan path, the raw vegan path, or even the cooked vegan path, the anti processed food, or not anti, I don't want to say anti, but avoiding the things that are more damaging to your health.
Mhm.
and landmines. I like to use the word landmines, just like stepping on the obvious landmines.
Yeah, I
So
like
you
that.
could be stepping on those, and yeah. So I didn't know that you could do that. So once I started doing at least the basics, like the rudimentary level basics, oh yeah, then all of a sudden I started to improve the quality of my life. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of similarities. The skin issues, the allergies, the
Okay.
you know, injection injuries, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I can really relate to that. What kind of did that transition look like, I guess? And I guess even before that, what was it that kind of got you interested in moving in a more plant-based direction?
Yeah. 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 I guess just some frustration with something inside me. Even though I was a young kid, it was like there was something that was just telling me like I really don't think that this has to be it. I don't think it has to be deal with this for the rest of your life. Like there's no way that I'm here on this planet with everything else, all the other abundant forms of life, and I need these pharmaceutical grade creams or medicines or whatever. It's like it's just, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, what is this? What do I need? What happens if I just go and try and survive a little bit, like outside in the elements, in
Yeah.
nature? Like, what happens? Like, why can't I do that? Like, god damn it, what's wrong with you? That type of thing. Even though on the surface, totally normal guy. But you have these questions, right? You just have these questions.
Yep.
So it was these curiosities, and then just curiosity about the world that I lived in and how the world worked, because I didn't know much about it. And I think usually what I would say is it started with history. I didn't know anything about history, modern, um, ancient, or prehistory. I didn't know anything about it. And that kind of bugged me too. I'm like, I should really figure out where we came from, and just when people drop historical references, I don't want to be, out there not wondering or not knowing what the heck people are talking about. That bothered me. So I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'm stupid. So that's where that's where it started. And I think once you go down the historical route and you get into esoteric history, the history of science, the history of medicine, the history of health and healing, the history of all sorts of movements and institutions, you kind of inevitably run into what has been sequestered from the picture, and what has been isolated away from what the world wants to present to you as history. And from there, it was a snowball effect of studying all of these tangential points of my general historical inquiry. And so yeah, so that's where it started. And I realized, oh my god, there's this whole health world of natural healing, abiding by natural principles, and accessing and tapping into what the body is designed to do, and how it's designed to live. And so going down that rabbit hole, not really rabbit hole, the information's there, people can investigate if they want.
Yeah.
And so just going down that path, and that's really where it started. So it was more that I was dissatisfied with my level of awareness of the world that I lived in and body that I lived in. And then it had to be, frankly, it had to be personally insulting to me. Like it took me being insulted from people who knew far better than I did, just telling me how it is, and then me dealing with the cognitive dissonance of, oh, good. Like, you don't, I think this is a stumbling block for people, is that you don't really want to have your own traditions and cultures and beliefs challenged, because then it invites the suggestion that you have had it wrong. And our egos don't like that battle, right? They don't like that confrontation.
Right.
So I had to kind of eat that up and deal with it, and really embrace, yeah, okay, I didn't have it right, I was wrong, and start to make these corrections in what logically and rationally seems to be obviously true, or more, at least more aligned with truth than what I was doing before.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's where it started. It pretty much just dissatisfaction with my level of awareness, and knowing that what I was experiencing from life in terms of my health, it couldn't have been right. Like I must have been doing something wrong in order to generate these results.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of started. Probably
Nice.
with you too. If you I know we have very similar,
Yep.
very similar lifestyle path here. So you probably noticed something along those lines as well.
Yeah, it's so funny. I that's like exactly my same situation, because I remember, back in college, before I haven't had any clue about this lifestyle, I just remember being at the bars and my friends would be talking about like some political or cultural thing, and I had like no clue what they were talking about, and I was just like, oh, I just feel so inadequate. I was like, I feel so uneducated. I'm like, why do they know this stuff and I don't? So, I grew up, I was like big into sports. That's like all that I paid attention to, is like sports and things like that. And so I never really took the time to really, just educate myself about different things. And so that kind of drove me to really start studying and just expanding my awareness of various different topics. And so, yeah, it was like just a drive to better my understanding of the world. And eventually it turned into wanting to better understand, myself, and like, similar to you, understand the human anatomy and physiology, and just, where we come from, and just, what conditions are required to function at our best. And so, very, very, similar to what I just heard you share with us. And so I'm curious, was there like a shifting moment for you? Like, was there one time that you were just like, wow, this is it? Or, was it kind of just a gradual, piece by piece kind of putting it together?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say more gradual from when I first picked up my first bit of literature that started to suggest that there was a better natural way, or more natural way. So from that point, yes, if you were to chart the progression, yes, there are gradual changes here and there. But within that parameter of then and now, the major changes that I'd implemented came fairly starkly. Right? Okay. So fairly radical changes at particular points. So one of the first books that I picked up was Kevin Trudeau's book, Natural Cures. I think I mentioned it in a previous video.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first books that I picked up that really kind of got me going. And even though there's a lot in the book that I would never, ever do, like there's tons of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, but just getting me thinking along those lines, that it was helpful. Yeah. And so getting rid of, doing things like, he suggested colonics, doing sauna treatments, and all these things, all these supplementary things. And like, oh yeah, okay, this is interesting, right? Avoiding the milk and the dairies and all this, and then what they do is like, oh yeah, shoot, this doesn't make sense. Why I would never be drinking, I don't know, kangaroo milk or possum milk or where cow milk or whatever. I don't even know if those animals produce milk, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mammal milk from your own species is how it's supposed to be. These types of obvious things. So yeah, a couple of those things I started to implement right, and I started to notice improvements. Where I was more strict was when I kicking meat out of the diet, and meat and the occasional, because sometimes when you make these changes, let's say I go to work, okay, so I decide, okay, I'm not going to eat milk or drink milk products or use dairy products. You go to work, and at the catering, they in my case, catering for work, they've got like pasta and cheese or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm at work, you know, I'm just going to have it. And then when I go home, okay. So there was that little phase. But then once I decided, no, I'm going to kick all the animal products out of my life completely, then I didn't make any of these little sidetracks anymore.
Sure.
So at that point, it was, I went to bed as a meat eater one day, and then the next morning I got up and I was vegan, right? No questions asked, no turning back, and have never looked back ever since.
Nice.
Save for maybe once where I didn't realize that I was eating a meat-filled, what's it called? Oh God, those flour wheat-based shell, and inside samosa. Okay. There might have been once where I bit into a samosa that was not a veggie samosa, contrary to what I had been told. So maybe there was that time.
Yeah.
But no, I spat it up. No, obviously. So anyway, I've never gone back.
Nice.
Yeah. So that transition was fairly drastic, and then my transition to the fruit-based lifestyle that I'm doing now, it was fairly drastic, but not as harsh as the cut I made with meat. So I gave myself several weeks to kind of clear out the kitchen. When I say clear out the kitchen, eat everything that was left in the kitchen. So getting through all my lentils and my beans and my peas and all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, just enjoying that transition. And then once I started cleaning out the kitchen to where I didn't have anything left, it's like, all right, this is it. Let's give it a try. Let's give this a try. And I did, and I just fell in love with it so much, and it's definitely sustained me, definitely kept me going. Yes, there were changes in detox symptoms, and just general shift in my thinking and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you do go through that. Everyone will go through that. But yeah, there was no way I could deny the general good that I could really feel was happening when you clean out the temple, right? The only temple that you have, the only house that indwelling spirit has to express itself. You clean that out, and it becomes a better vehicle for the expression of life within. So I was starting to feel that, and just kept going with it.
Nice. Yeah. Again, very, very similar to me. I did. So I started out this lifestyle with a 10-day juice fast, and
cool.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
And it was after that where I realized just how much, more alive I felt, how much clearer my thoughts were, how much less negative thinking that I was experiencing, more energy, better sleep, all these things like just hit me. And I was like, wow, like if they're, I had gone 10 days without consuming the heavy, high protein, animal products that everybody was telling me I needed to be healthy. And, I realized I haven't been eating those things, and I feel the best I've ever felt. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to go down this path and explore it. And it led me, to where I am today. And so, yeah, it's just, another, actually, I think I probably had like two big kind of shifty moments. The one was the juice fast to get into a plant-based way of living.
Yeah.
And then I saw the movie Earthlings, and that got me, really aligned with the moral and ethical aspect of eating a plant-based diet and a vegan diet. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to hear the kind of turning points, if there was one, or, because, it's different for everybody, but I see a lot of similarities in people's stories about, having that kind of aha moment where it's just like it clicks, and yeah. So, I mean, did you face any sort of like pushback from friends and family or anything like that when you started transitioning into this?
You can bet your bottom dollar that yes, I did. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening out there, do not expect the world to be sympathetic to your drastic lifestyle change.
Yeah.
It won't be. You're gonna get a lot of it out of love and care, right?
Yeah.
And the vast bulk, the vast majority of it through lack of knowledge, just lack of information, just because people don't know. Most of your criticism is coming from that crowd, let me assure you. And then there will be a small percentage of that criticism or concern coming from, love, from, your family and friends, just wanting to look at you and make sure that you're doing okay. So yes, I had to hear it from everybody. Absolutely. The amount of times that people still tell me to this day, have you lost more weight? Have you lost more weight? Have you lost more? I'm like, yes, every single day for 6 years now, I've been gradually losing more and more and more weight. I'm like, guys, if I'm losing this weight, I would not, I'd have negative weight by now. I would be less than an atom or a molecule. No, guys, it's funny. So I had to hear that, especially when I did have the drastic weight in the initial period. Yeah, of course. And I expected it, you have to expect it.
Yeah.
Develop a thick skin as it's going to happen. So just be prepared. Accept that as part of the transition and a part of the joyful movement to a new you, the creation of a new you, right?
Yeah.
So friends, family, like, oh, you've lost weight. Oh my God, what happened? Are you sick? Are you okay? Are you sure this is healthy? If you're losing weight, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Blah, 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 blah. But of course, in my own life, I'm noticing all the positive improvements, and all I'm seeing is a drop in weight on the scale and in the mirror. So that's happening, yeah. But all of these positive changes are maybe caused by the weight or the waste that I'm losing. So to me, it was 2 and 2 equals 4, right? It was very, very clear that what was coming out was probably not helping me and healing me. So this very, very direct source of truth coming from my own experience, it was enough to let me stand steadfast in the face of this onslaught of ignorance coming at my way, just like cautioning me and concerning me. Are you sure? Maybe you should be eating fermented pickles. You're like, oh, you should try rotting this. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you could use some carcass in your diet. Like, you've lost too much weight. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Yeah, it's like, yes, I know. I hear you. I will consider your opinion. And just kept doing the same bloody thing that I'd been doing, and kept getting more and more health improvements over time.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely did hear it. Oh yeah.
Right. Yep. Same story. You always get that question when you start dropping some weight, if you're, if you feel okay, if you're sick. And, it's a little ironic, with the culture that we live in, where the vast majority of people are, significantly overweight, and they only get concerned when we start losing some weight.
Right.
So very interesting.
Right. It's interesting, right? You put on a whole bunch of bulk, and it's like, where's the concern?
Yeah.
Right. But then you lose that bulk, and it's just like, oh my God, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, we just don't see it in the other direction. And I'd say vast majority of the problems come from that overnutrition.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Well, it's interesting. I was actually gonna pick your brain as well, just because I know you said that you started your transition with a juice fast or juice cleanse, right? And so that for me didn't come until a lot later in the game for me. And I'm sure that you, like myself, have been asked many times, what is the best way, assuming someone is coming from just a conventional diet, what is the best way to start this program or this regime or this lifestyle, this generally better lifestyle?
Yeah.
And what do you imagine? Do you think it's better to start with the juice cleanse, like the harsh juice cleanse right away, or the fast or the water fast, and then transition in? Or is it better to, and now I know there's individual variation amongst individuals here, or is it better to just start making subtle changes at the beginning, and then once you've done some cleansing, jump on that juice cleanse, jump on that fat, whatever it is? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you feel if from people that you've coached and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and like you said, there's individuality with this sort of a thing. Some people, some people do really well jumping, both feet in at once, and doing something similar to what I did and doing a juice fast. With my situation, I was, I was always kind of gradually trying to shift to healthier options in my diet. Even before I got into this lifestyle, before I realized what was possible with fruits and vegetables. But I was looking for like turkey burgers instead of beef burgers and wheat bread instead of white bread, things like that. I would get a lot of those like vitamin waters and things like that I thought were like super important. But I was health minded, so I was kind of off to a good start in that sense a little bit, and that may have helped me deal with the detox symptoms initially when I got into that juice fast. So I would say it really depends on kind of the state of health and really the state of consciousness that somebody is in before they determine how they want to start into it. Because, mindset, I think mindset is one of the key aspects if you're going to, succeed with this lifestyle in the first place, but also if you're going to be able to handle the emotions and the, more of the mental obstacles that you might face when you start getting into a lifestyle that is so different from the masses. And so you really have to get into a place in your mind where what you're doing is the best that you can do for yourself at this point in time, and you're willing to take the criticism of other people's fears and anxieties, and then once you've solidified in your mind that it's a healthy, it's a good thing, and it's coming from a loving place where you're looking for, optimizing your vessel that you've been given and move from there. But then, I would say, it seems like it's kind of half and half. Some people really enjoy just diving right in, and other people like to do something like, just starting first off with switching to a fruit for breakfast. Because I kind of actually did both. So I did the juice fast. And then after that, I kind of started, when I started digging into, just the various aspects of this lifestyle, I started having fruit for breakfast and smoothies and juices. And then I did that for a while, and I got comfortable with that. And then all of a sudden I just wanted to start having like a salad for lunch. And so instead of going to the sandwich shop and getting a sandwich, I would get a salad. And so then I did that for a little while. And then I realized, wow, I'm almost, without even really trying, I wasn't actually trying to get into like being a raw foodist, it just kind of organically happened. And so I just realized, wow, I've been eating raw all day and I'm just having my cooked dinner. And so then I was curious as to what would happen if I switched to eating a raw dinner. And I didn't even do that right away. I just started having like a salad with my cooked meal. And then after a while, I just phased that out. And I was, and then I realized, wow, I've been doing all raw and I feel really good. And so it's been a shift and kind of a, moving along the pendulum of fully raw and sometimes some, steamed vegetables or potatoes might make it back into my salads and things like that. But for the majority of people, I think, you really have to listen to your intuition and just, just go with whatever is feeling right. And you just have to listen to your body's cues and Yeah, it's hard for me to just give a blanket statement on that, because
Sure, sure.
people are coming from different states of mentality and physicality, and so yeah, I think both can work, but I think that the mindset is really a key aspect to succeeding with either way.
Yeah, that's true. That's very well said. I think the consciousness that we approach lifestyle with, or the mindset,
Mhm.
that, I mean, do I want to say that's probably the most influential factor in your success or what approach you take? Possibly it could be,
Yep.
because yeah, like if you're the deeper and the more convicted your motivation, even if you don't have all of the answers, if you're deeply convinced and motivated, you're probably going to be willing to deal with all the physicality, right? All of the actual mechanical elements of the change.
Yeah.
So that might make it different for one person or the other. This is why most of the times when people are sick, very sick, right, where the doctor's telling them, oh, you're done if you just keep doing this lifestyle. I'm like, okay, I got to make some change. So for those people, they don't have any other choice. They
Yep.
throw all their eggs into that basket, and they jump into it with both feet, and then they're fine. And then other people, maybe for the other people who need the more transition, it's that they know that things are wrong, but they don't have all those answers. They're not completely convinced. They're still in that mindset where I need to try the lifestyle and see if it works. Like they don't recognize that doing the right thing for your body always leads to the best results, as put forth by the natural creative forces that make up your body. Like it's not constituted any other way, right? Nobody gonna get a bruise, and then the bruise, I don't know, turns into a gopher or something weird. No, it doesn't do that. It's always going to heal you. So you do the right things for your body, and the programming takes over, right? So went off a little bit. So yeah, so people who just aren't really familiar with that, yeah, for them, maybe they need the more gradual transition so that they can see slowly that, hey, I'm not being hurt by this. I'm actually feeling better, or at the very least, there's no change. Nothing's happening.
Right.
So you get rid of some stimulants in the diet. You get rid of that Wednesday night chicken wing thing, right? And then all of a sudden you feel, oh, you know what? I feel just as good as before, or maybe even a little bit better. So maybe this is working. And then they take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And then at some point, they're going to learn something that really takes their health to the next level. Oh, if I cut out this processed grain, oh my God, that makes me feel a lot better. Okay, and then you just continue.
Yep.
So the mindset is very important. So for people listening out there who are interested in this, right, who just tuned into the channel, and again, Matt, thank you for having me here, that we can chat about this kind of stuff. So
For sure.
if you're looking at getting into that raw lifestyle, in my case, the primarily fruit-based lifestyle, but raw food lifestyle under that umbrella, just the same. You're looking to get into that. I think what you need to ask yourself is what do you want? What is the actual underlying motivation that is fueling your desire to make this change? Okay, and depending on what that is and what that answer is, will lead you to the next step that you're comfortable making, right? So if you are deeply convinced that this is the only way, right, then the next logical step for you might be just renouncing everything, right, and then just jumping right in. But if it's not, then the best step for you that will not cause you to have a stress response or an anxiety response to these new changes, if your changes are going to come concomitant with these stresses and whatnot, it's not the right transition for you. It's not the right time for you. And don't do the juice cleanse, right? But if it's something that you deeply want to do and that is going to be good for you, and that is going to help you on the other end, then that's then that's what you do. So I think you nailed it on the head with the consciousness and the level, the mental level that we're coming from. That's always going to help, and or going to determine how we choose. And of course, knowledge, right? Saturating yourself with as much knowledge as possible. It's the old trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, this natural process of learning that takes place regardless of whether you're aware of it or not, right? And in the grammar portion of the learning triad, you are simply taking in as much information as possible. You don't know what's right yet. You don't know what's wrong. You're just aggregating everything. And in the next phase of learning, that's when you start to filter out and start to understand what it is, all this data that you've accrued. So yeah, just taking in as much information and knowledge as possible, and just saturating yourself with that. That obviously helps because it alleviates doubts. When you have knowledge about a thing, the illusions they dispel. So that's what knowledge does, thankfully. So yeah, so continue to aggregate as much information as possible, and then ask yourself the question, what is motivating you? See where your mindset is at, and then make the next logical step from there. I think is how that would work.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly said. Education, mindset. I think those are two key things that everybody, if they really want, because like you said, when you're educated, you won't be as susceptible to, the doubts from other people and all that sort of thing. That is something that I've seen a lot, over the last several years of doing this. People that haven't taken the time to educate themselves on a pretty deeper, level than just, the really surface level stuff. There's a lot of people or bots on the internet. I don't know what they are, but but they like to put seeds of doubt into people's minds, and I've seen a lot of people that have fallen victim to that. And so education, I think, is the answer to avoiding that issue. So yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you, so you're a very physical and muscular and fit guy. Has this way of eating, how has this diet and lifestyle affected your physicality, and maybe, I don't know if you want to share about the work that you do, your occupation. That's pretty unique and pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yes, yeah, I've noticed changes in my physical life through making these transitions, and some people might see as disadvantageous. I personally don't, but there have also been things that are just inevitably advantageous. I think the major thing that everybody can expect. Well, I know you're asking me, but I know now I'm speaking in generalities. Sure. I think the first thing that everybody can expect from making this transition to a raw living food lifestyle, or in my case, if you wanted to go more the fruit-based style, then either way, you're going to get this advantage, is that your cardiovascular health, not necessarily your cardiovascular endurance, like running endurance, which it does improve. Okay, but I'm saying just the level of cleanliness of your cardiovascular system is going to be very noticeable for anyone and everybody, right? I started noticing that I was doing things like, running up a set of stairs to head back to my apartment, or chasing down a bus or something, or sprinting, like whatever. And then all of a sudden, like you're not tired, or you feel fine. Like, oh my God, well, what's this? This is new and interesting. I remember the first time I started noticing that I didn't have like a wheezy asthma response to a jog, to like a 15-20 minute jog. When I first started noticing that congestion in my lungs was gone, it was the best feeling in the world. oh my God, there was something there that really needed to get filtered out. And this lifestyle has done that for me. Okay. So in my I've always been an athlete. I've always been, or at least I've always been interested in athletics. So I've been a gymnast for vast majority of my life. Done acrobatics, done parkour, martial arts from the time I was young till now. I always train these elements of my lifestyle, and so that's always been part of me, right? How I live my life. So when I made these changes, I made sure not like I had to discipline myself. I was going to do them regardless of what I was eating, but I just kept doing these things. And this drastic lifestyle change that I underwent, it never stopped me from doing all of the wonderful physical things that I was always accustomed to doing. And that's the important thing to remember.
Yeah.
You're always, as long as you engage in fitness and in activity, you will be active, you will be fit, and you will have a good physical body. But you just do the stuff, and that's what happens. And with what's coming into the system, it's the cleanliness of the system that starts to improve your physicality, right? Now, so what I did this as a drastic change at first is because I had lost a lot of weight, right? So I was initially I lost like 12, 15 pounds almost right off the bat. And then there was a slow, gradual loss of more weight as I went on in my diet. Primarily fruit, sometimes raw leafy greens, raw salads, all that good stuff. So I still did include those, but most everything was fruit. Okay, so that's the diet we're talking about for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I noticed that my initial strength went down. So my bench press numbers went down. I wasn't pressing and deadlifting or squatting as much raw weight. Okay, so all those numbers they went down. All right. Okay. Just be very upfront and very straight about that. And made sense to me because I would lost a lot of weight. Now, it's interesting. It's like, why would that be? And because the weight that I'd lost, it felt like just pure waste. So you could imagine, like, okay, well, if I'm losing all of this waste, why would that really change the strength that you had? Like, I mean, if you weren't really losing muscle mass and you're losing the intramyocellular lipids and the acidic poisons that are circulating through the system that get lodged in the body, right? Why would your strength suffer if you're just losing the bad stuff, right? That's a good question. I don't really know how to answer that, or didn't really know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Right? But it turns out that with a very high stimulating diet, so when you're eating lots of cooked foods, and especially if you're in your body as an animal graveyard, right? You're doing that. In that case, you're loading your body with hormones, exogenous animal hormones. And you put growth hormones into your body, regardless of whether the animals have been treated with hormones, injectables or whatnot. This could be a wild roaming free family of chipmunks that you're eating, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? These are animals, so their bodies are laden just hormones 24/7 going through everybody. So you eat those, your body responds by getting exogenous hormones from without. And if you're doing a lot of working out, yeah, it will stimulate your body, stimulate the muscles into growth because you've got extra hormones flooding through your system. Now, in the absence of that, so let's just say you're already doing a vegan diet, like a regular cooked food vegan diet, okay? The cooked foods now these are coming, this is a bulk of nutrition coming in. And a lot of it is difficult for your body to deal with because it has been denatured, it has been cooked, it has been processed in some way, so it's no longer the living entity it was before. So in order to deal with all of that I'll just call it processed food. I mean, what your definition for processed food is, if you heated a food and cooked it to beyond belief, it's a processed food, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's coming into your system, and what does your body have to do in order to deal with this very weird looking foreign material? It has to really ramp up the metabolism, and ramp up the energy production in order to deal with all of these poisons. So what I imagine is happening here is that because the character of the food that you're eating is no longer stimulating, metabolically activating, right? Driving your metabolism wild so that it has to deal with that. Okay, now the nature of what I'm eating is calm, right? It's just living foods. All the enzymes and the digestive enzymes and all the phytonutrients and phytochemicals, these are all part and parcel of the food that you're eating. They haven't been steamed or cooked or baked out of it or changed in some way. So now they're all coming in, and your body doesn't have to be as metabolically excited or active in order to deal with that. So you live with like that for months and months and months on end. What I imagine is happening is because your metabolism, your metabolic level of excitation has drastically gone down, and the waste is poured out of the muscles, and you're losing weight. And for many people, that's our problem. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And in terms of physicality and exercise, I think that's what's happening. You're noticing a general decrease in the level of rampant excitability in your whole body, in your muscle tissues and whatnot. And it translates to, at first, raw strength and raw power, right?
Yeah.
And so if we want to consider that a disadvantage, then we can. I didn't see it as a disadvantage because my lifestyle I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't need outrageous levels of strength to function in my life. So I had to, try to rationalize and recognize this. And as much as we have this thing where being in a huge, big, buff body is something that's desirable. I had to make a choice. I'm like, what is important, Eli, in your life? Is the physicality more important than the health that underlies those tissues, that lies behind those big biceps and big, what's more important, Eli? And so my answer was health, wellness, my spirituality. These are far, far more important to me than what the world believes I should look like. And so I just made that choice and I ran with it. So over the time now, over years, oh my gosh, there are some things that I'm doing that I could never do before. Improvements in my flexibility and my joint, the pliability and the lack of aches and pains that I thought would never leave. There was an ache in my neck that I carried with me forever. It never stopped me from doing anything, but it was just always there. I thought this thing was never going away. There was no rehab, no striking, no massaging, nothing got rid of this thing. Wow. And it was only after this lifestyle that this ache finally went away. It was I couldn't turn my head all the way to my left, without pain. I couldn't do it without pain. Sure. And then one day I noticed that it was gone. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, is it just a coincidence that it just happened to disappear? And now when I've made these drastic changes to what goes into my body, no, it was not a coincidence. I'm sorry. So yeah, so all of these wonderful things that happen to you, and I was still able to be physically active. I'm still doing all my calisthenics. I do hand balancing, like push-ups, acro. I'm still doing flips and twists when I go to train at the gym, sometimes just for fun, because it's fun. Yeah, all of these things I still do to this day. And I don't see myself stopping at any time soon. And it's wonderful. So you can be just as physically active, just as physically fit, just as, look just as good, right? But it's different. It's just different than what you had before. It is different. Expect a difference. If a difference frightens you, then maybe what you want is some sort of compromise. You want to follow the health the health protocols to some degree, and then make your departures depending on what you're ready to do. So maybe that's the choice. You hear this all the time. Hey, Eli, I want to get healthier. I want to get well, but I don't want to lose a stitch of weight. What do I do? Like, I don't, I'm the right ass. I can't help, it's like, what do you do? Like, so you can try, you can make compromises and you try to adjust and tailor what the right approach is so that you don't lose sickness. Like I'll call weight and sickness similar things. Like they're synonymous almost, because you're literally losing latent sickness. You're losing latent sickness from your body when you go on this lifestyle. And it's an interesting battle. How do I stop losing weight with and still do that stuff? How do you answer that question?
Yeah.
But,
I know. I think for sure. I love that. And when I think about people that want to not lose any weight but still transform their health and their bodies, I saw on one of your videos that you talked about the body doesn't build on a faulty foundation, so you want to make sure that you're giving your body a chance to clean out all that toxicity, and that's going to require some weight loss, because toxins get stored in our fat tissue, and so if you have things built up and you want to truly build a truly healthy body, you got to allow that to release so that you can build on a solid, healthy foundation. And so it's one of those things where people have to just make a decision for themselves on how big of a transformation they want to achieve, and then make the compromises from there. So
that's it. That's it. That foundation is so important. You can build a temple with crummy materials. And if you're willing to buy cheap, crummy nonsense materials, then you can load that onto your foundation, and your foundation will get bigger faster, because it's easier to load up all of these nonsense materials. You could do that, but then the temple, the house, is built on lower quality material, might fall apart, might have some problems here or there. But so you strip all of that, right? You might not build as big a temple or as massive, like literally physically massive a temple, but if you only put in high quality material, then you'll get a high quality temple that lasts you much longer than the temple that's built out of silly putty, camel feces, and sourdough or something. I don't know, whatever. So that kind of thing.
So I'm curious. For me, I live in Minnesota, and so I'm not too far from Canada, but I and many of the people that I work with, they struggle to find really good quality fruit all year round. Do you have any tips on that? And how has your experience been in Canada, getting good quality fruit? Has it been an issue for you or not?
It hasn't been an issue for me personally, at least in Toronto. So in Canada, I'm in Toronto. So, this is like the hub, the main city district. So there are tons of grocery stores all over the place.
Nice.
And lots of different varieties too, like Asian grocery stores. We have Jamaican grocery stores. There's in my area.
Sure.
So and then of course the conventional grocery stores. More remote locations are going to have at least the conventional grocery stores, so the big chain grocery stores. And so most areas have at least those. Even if I had at least those, I think it would still be just as easy. I'm lucky in the sense that I do have some farmers markets in my area that I can go to. I do have, so I do have a good variety. So for me, it has never been a challenge.
Cool.
Understandably, that not everybody's in that situation though. So for me, I've got it easy. I, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's a fruit-based lifestyle. Very few people are doing this. Everybody's going to see this as something challenging. Like, how the heck would I navigate it? Yeah, okay. So no, I don't have friggin' pelicans and storks dropping off baskets of wonderful goodness to me at my doorstep. No, that's not what I mean when I say I have it easy. I literally can't walk out my door and get it. But it's I live in a city. I have a car. Okay, what more could I ask for? I have a shelter. I have a home to come home to. Like I'm saying, I have the raw basics to be able to live a life. So you do have to put in some effort. Okay. But for me, it's not really a challenge. I get what in the wintertime, what do you do in the wintertime? I always get that question when some fruits and whatnot are not in season. And you're asking, okay, do I have like tips and just how to navigate this?
Yeah.
We have access to lots of imports. If you've got a grocery store in your area, then you're going to have access to imports from other places that are growing fruit that's in season for them. So you can just focusing on what's in season, if not in your own community, then what is seasonal for your imports. Always looking at the clearance. Like for me, on just shopping in the clearance section where all the ripe fruit is, because most of the stuff I'm eating is fruit. So when these big chain grocers, they put stuff on clearance that is a fruit, usually what that means is it's just ripe.
Yeah.
So it's like, bonus. Yeah, for me, I just eat what's cheap. When I did banana, I lived on bananas for 3 weeks or a month or so. It was a while ago, but I did it, and my grocery bill was just hilarious. Like, not only would I eat just bananas, but I would get lots of clearance bananas too.
Yeah.
It was good. Like I could pick up almost a week's supply of bananas for like $5 or something outrageous, right?
Yeah.
It was so funny. Anyway, so shopping in the clearance section of your grocery store, that does help. You're not going to find everything, so don't rely on that. But that's just something that you can use, right? Whenever they throw a melon, like melons in the clearance, like that's bonus, right? That's a whole meal that is discounted to a pretty silly price. In the winter, you're just looking at what's available. Just do what you can, buy what you can in terms of raw food, not just fruit, but raw food.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you're talking about remote locations that really have a hard time getting access to good fruit, good vegetables, then you might have to make some compromises. Yeah, you might have to sticking with the things that aren't landmines. Okay, so sticking with at least the vegan diet if you have access to a grocery store or food or whatnot. And you have the option of sticking with at least the vegan side or the plant-based, I should say plant-based life, mm-hmm. Right? Then whatever those options are, then use those options, but just make as much of those options whole foods at the very least. Okay, so whole potatoes, whole tubers. If you're doing any cooking, right, these are always going to be better options. And if you have to resort to those in the wintertime, like squashes or whatnot, then that's what you do, right? That's what you do. And then you just always recognize in the back of your mind, right, that when you have the luxury or the ability to do so, that yes, as much as that's what you're doing in the winter time or at crisis time or emergency time, you still have a human body, and that human organic body needs to live on human organic food, just like everything else on the planet.
Yep.
So organic living food, and when heat is a destructive element, it's nature's destructive force. So when you subject something to that destructive force, it is no longer the organic living thing. So you're gonna obviously this better than anyone. So just understand that. I think my point was, understand that is the case. So nothing you do is going to change that. It doesn't matter if you live for the next 800 years eating cooked food for those 800 years. You will not change the essential core makeup of that body. Yeah. It will always do best and respond best to living raw food. And so just know that. And then as long as you have the awareness, it's like it's living delusions. That's the important thing. So as long as you know that intellectually, then yes, make whatever departures are necessary for your particular living condition. And I think as long as you're equipped with that understanding of what you are, then you fit yourself in, then you slot yourself in wherever you need to be.
Nice. Yeah, great advice. So what what would a typical day of eating look like for you? Does it vary, or is it kind of consistent?
It does vary, and this is good because we just went through the holidays, New Year's, and all that stuff.
Yep.
So this is good. I can talk to you about some of the more departures that I've made from my typical routine, right? Sure. So most of the time it's some sort of mono fruit meal. So pick a fruit, right? That's a meal for me, right? Whatever that fruit is. Okay, maybe not lemons. I'm not making a meal of lemons. Okay, be reasonable here, but yeah. Apples, pears, bananas, regular melons, like cantaloupes or whatever, papayas, even zucchini, cucumbers, all of these things. These things could be meals on their own. Okay, meals. Now, when I'm not doing that, right? Any kind of simple lettuce or simple salad would do just as fine. I recently found, I'm probably going to post a video on this at some point, but I found usually I don't have much in the way of concentrated fats in my diet. But I found at the farmer's market one day they were just selling these huge, big, thick coconuts. Huge coconuts. I was like, oh my God, it caught my eye. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen coconuts. I bought like 4 of them. And then I had I think 4 coconuts for dinner. The coconut meat for dinner. Yeah, nice. This is something that I don't usually do. Massive fat content, just this world fat content, right? But I did it, okay, and it was fine. It's raw food. It is it is not nearly as destructive as anything else. I don't want to use the word destructive, but it's not my typical thing, and that is something that I did because it was a novelty. I'd never seen that option available to me, and so I indulge. Okay. If for the holidays, if I am indulging, then it's going to be some sort of vegetable based bowl, some sort of leafy green supplemented with whatever, tomatoes and avocado, or tomatoes and pistachios, or some sort of nut or seed, right? That would be something that I do when I'm departing from my typical meal of just mono fruits. Okay. I could do I like the zoodles. Like I do zoodles every now and again. I kind of got my fix with them when it was a novelty. I'm just like, I just wanted to explore what the possibilities were so that I could offer those as possibilities to people that I'm coaching. So just, a lot of these things I do because I if I don't know, then I just want to do it so that I do know. And that way I have just more of a base to offer people as suggestions.
For sure.
So I've done lots of different types of zoodle combinations. Those were always good combinations or options when I was going out to a family function to just fit in,
Yep.
So when I'm departing from the mono fruit thing, it's generally going to be some sort of salad, mixed with either different types of fruits, dried fruits like dates or figs, or if it's a high fat meal, then I'm just gonna go do the high fat. Like if it's a high fat meal, I'm going nuts with it for that day, and then probably not doing that again for a while, right? So maybe I could do like 3-4 avocados in a bowl, a huge bowl of salad and tomatoes, a massive bowl, and that's like the big dinner for the day, and I very rarely do that, but I can do that, right? Yep. And I still will feel I feel slowed down for sure after a meal like that. Oh, definitely. Like you can feel it. I do that very rarely, and still nothing cooked, everything raw. Um, so seasonings. Okay, what would I do if I'm cheating? Not cheating, but just making a departure seasoning wise.
Okay.
Then I would probably use either onion or garlic, I made a video about using green onions. It's funny. This is something that you could do as a departure in a blend. So throwing in a blender, just throw avocado, tomato, whatever, the onions and garlic. You can make fantastic, amazing tasting sauces. And you could do them far more often than I do them in my life, and be very, very healthy. So it's not, the message here isn't don't do these things. You can do them, and you're going to be very, very healthy. But in me personally, those are the extent to the seasonings that I would possibly use, or even some dry, dill. So I could use dill as a seasoning, but that's very rare. Almost never something that you'd shake with a bottle. Usually it's just some sort of raw food seasoning. So those are seasonings that I would typically default to if I wanted to make some sort of experiment or departure. But that's pretty much the extent of it. Other than that, then yes, just raw, simple fruits.
Nice.
I think my favorites would be the cantaloupes, honeydew melons. I love those melons are just fantastic. So I do like those. Pears, apples, or apple with date. That's a great combination. There's lots of stuff. Yeah. So any of the fruits are all fair game.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool, man. So, I see a lot of books behind you. Do you do a lot of reading? And is there any specific authors or books that have really inspired you, in this lifestyle or anything else?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of reading. I would probably say that I can't remember the last day where a day went by where I didn't do some reading, at least for the day. So I always have my pen and my book and my pen and my highlighter. These are like indispensable tools for me for life. You ask any of my coworkers, have you ever seen Eli on set or at work without my study material? They'll say never. Like, everyone can corroborate this. I'm always doing some sort of reading. So influential authors and books. Arnold Ehret, any of the natural hygienists from the 1800s or early 1900s. These were very influential. So Arnold Ehret was fantastic. Herbert Shelton is fantastic. T.C. Fry, wonderful authors. Hudson Tuttle, Sylvester Graham, Hilton Hotema, who does a lot in the natural world, natural law, natural hygiene, and esoterica and spiritual esoterica. These books and these authors helped me immensely. Of course, there are other authors. David Icke, I was very inspired with David Icke. Just a whole slew of authors. But if people are interested in the raw food lifestyle, then what you're looking at is you want as a keyword, you want to tap into natural hygiene, and then go through the literature and find out who the authors were and who the leaders of the natural hygiene movement were in the later 1800s, even early 1800s. And then buy those books, and then just go through bibliographies, and then just keep expanding and expanding. You're going to find no lack of information that answers really, really deep questions about life, the laws of life, what govern the laws of life, and how you can exploit or use those in your life. So those all very influential people for me.
Nice. Cool, man. Yeah. Same with me. I've always got my pen and my highlighter with me. It's such I've noticed that, just reading a book is great, but when you actually take notes and highlight, you retain it much better, and you can, really hold on to that information a lot deeper. So that's cool that you do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. Sometimes you get that question. It's like, how do you go through a book and retain everything? And the answer is you won't.
Yeah.
You won't retain everything. You have to. But the more when you read, the more you can encapsulate what you're reading in pictorial form, the more it's going to be reluctant to leave you. The more you'll have a lasting impression. So I always say when I'm reading a book, what I try to do is I try to watch a movie through the words. So I try not to read the words. I let the words create images, like chunks of words create images.
Mm.
And when you do it like that, it's all you're doing is you're seeing a movie play out, or you're seeing a story play out in just kind of slowly scanning through the words on the page, taking in tiny little chunks at a time, and then bigger chunks. And so that helps me retain a general feel for what the page is saying, and that has helped. And then of course you take notes, you highlight key phrases or key quotes or key whatever here
Yep.
and there, because you're going to go back to that book, and then you're going to, when you skim through, you're going to see your notes and whatnot, and then that acts as a reminder. And so that's why it's so important, because you know you're not going to get everything, but when you go back to that book later to make a reference, to do whatever, that's when all your notes are really really going to be handy, and you're going to you thank yourself for making all of those notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for people out there that are doing reading, yeah, don't just read a book without a pen and a highlighter. These are, for me, like I cannot read a book. I can, but I would not read a book unless I can take notes and whatnot. So don't let me borrow your books. Essentially, I'll just buy them for myself and then make it my own.
Yeah. Right. Sweet. Wow. Well, that's great. So let's see. I guess, I mean, this has been fascinating. I've really enjoyed listening to your story and how you've made this lifestyle work for you. Where, if people want to learn more about you, where would be the best places to point them to?
So right now, I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't have much in the sense to of like business or whatnot that I could put out for you guys. But I have my I run and operate my channel. So the channel is the FreeMelon Society. That's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, Bitchute, and Odyssey. Those are the three platforms that I upload to. So you can check out the FreeMelon Society on any of those. We're probably on YouTube here, so you can check that. And I also have an Instagram where I upload just more exercise and lifestyle, little chunks and tidbits of lifestyle. I usually put to my Instagram. And my what is my Instagram? FreeMelon Eli. FreeMelon_Eli is my Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram there if you like, or my YouTube channel, The FreeMelon Society. And yeah, if there's something that I can help you with on my channel, and hopefully I've got what you need. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, yeah, definitely go check out Eli's resources. I'm going to link everything down in the description box below. So easy access. Definitely go give him a follow. You will surely learn a lot and get a lot of inspiration. So yeah, I really recommend it. All right. Well, Eli, thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom with us and inspiring everybody out there to move more towards our species specific diet of fruit and just make it work. The more fruit we can consume, the healthier we're going to be. So it's the most compatible food with our physiology, and you'll definitely see a lot of good results from it. So again, thank you. And everybody else, thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon or night, whatever time of day it is for you. And we will see you in the next video.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. All right. Much love, and we'll catch you on the next one.